Welcome to the Global Gaming Business Podcast. This is day 2 of G2E 2025, and my guest today is Walter Bugno, the President and CEO of Games Global.
Games Global. Roger.
And, we've known each other for many years when you were at IGT, and when I saw you took over this company is going to really make it.
Thank you.
So we're really happy to see that. So why don't you just start off and give us a little idea of how you formed Games Global?
Yeah, look, it was an idea really. I mean, I was contacted by a small venture capital company in London who had made a series of investments in a number of studios, and they were looking at how they could monetize those studios, and thought, you know what, we'll put them in one entity, and then take the entity to the capital markets. Ideally was to list it, and they. To do that, they needed someone to lead it, and an infrastructure behind it. So I joined, and it became apparent pretty quickly, one, they had some really good assets, but two, they were missing some big assets. And one of the biggest things is they had no distribution. So they really would have sold through what is an aggregator style business. So we then did an agreement with microgaming, since some of the investors were common, and acquired their distribution channels, some of their own studios, and then started the journey in creating Games Global. So we started in April 2022. So here we are, 3.5 years down the track, and we're doing exceptionally well. We're now operating in 40 jurisdictions around the world. We have a who's who in our client list of all the major operators around the world. And we have 43 studios, game design studios, that we now own. We acquired the last lot of them last week. So it's been a really exciting journey. Yeah,
so these are based all around the world, I would imagine.
Yeah, so we have just over 1,000 people inside our business, and our studios are located pretty much where talent is. I mean, we don't go necessarily and acquire existing studios. We look for talent, and then we back them into creating a studio. And we've got studios located in practically every continent of the world these days. With Latam being the last era, we've got a couple of studios in Argentina. We've got one in Brazil. We've got several here in the United States. We have many in Europe, South Africa. We have a number of studios in Australia. So it's been a really good journey.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So what do you take from your experience at IGT that works for you at Games Global?
Look, we're operating in completely, from a traditional IGT perspective, we're operating in a completely different environment. But if there was one thing that I think IGT did very well, it was their focus on building game brands and game families, and that's one of the things that we did. With 43 independent studios, it's very easy to put out a lot of content, but they tend to be individual games, and the operators only need so many of those. But if you can create a franchise, a brand, and then do extensions and evolutions of that brand, it becomes something that becomes long lasting, and that's been our big focus as we've transitioned from games to franchises. And now we're in the next phase, which is transitioning from just pushing games to actually having games pulled through by players, and that's where again the brand's very important.
Sure. So do you create your own franchises? Or
we do.
You don't buy in
license games? We do some. I would say right now maybe 2.5% of the revenue that we generate utilizes licensed brands. So we some of the more recent ones we have an exclusive license with UFC, which was done here primarily for the US. Although very popular as we go down into Brazil and those markets. But we've done that. We've done some really cool brands that we've just done, Assassin's Creed, and so there's some that we've done, but primarily we do.
So I guess that's why you have all these studios, so you can develop these
exactly. And then when we're on a winner, we tend to really focus the studio at developing the extension of that brand.
Well, you know, we learned long ago that each country has a different preference of the kind of slot that they want to play. So I guess you direct those franchises into that studio in those countries and try to figure out.
One of the reasons our studios are spread globally, and they're not all in one location. And you know, we advocate small, nimble teams rather than big monoliths. Is because we'd like to be close to the players, and we'd like to understand in the jurisdictions that we operate. We want to really understand the preferences of players, and then we have an infrastructure that gets all the feedback. Even if it's a studio based, as I mentioned before, Argentina, we get what that studio learns, we feed it to all the other studios that can then make games for that country. We try to localize. We're still on the journey. We're not perfect by all means, but we're seeing that localized content makes a big difference.
Sure, yeah, no question about it. So what's a typical deal with an operator? Do they lease your games?
No, it's all primarily there's two kinds of arrangements that we have with operators. It's either a revenue share, right? So we'll develop the game, we launch it in, they generate game, and we get a clip of the ticket, right? Although what we've seen of late is a shift away from that towards like a fixed fee arrangement where we set a revenue for a period of time, say a month, from that operator, and we give them all their content in exchange for a guaranteed level of income. And then it's up to them how hard they drive it. So, but that's generally it's a rev share. It's their arrangement.
That makes sense. Well, we just saw Gavin Isaac walk by.
I saw him.
I know he was involved with the company.
He was our chairman. It still is on. We shifted. You know, when we had a crack at going to an IPO, last year, and then we just couldn't get the value that we thought we were worth, so we decided to defer it to at a future point in time. And so Gavin was our chairman. We sort of downsized the board from a fully governing board to more of an advisory board, and he's still on our advisory board. So he's been a really good guy to us.
He's a good man to have.
He's
no question about it.
Fantastic.
So. Where can people find your games?
Here in the US? We're with all the major operators here in the US. We're live in all the iGaming states with all the operators, certainly all the major operators. The only state that we haven't yet launched into is West Virginia, but we're launching into that towards the end of the year, so to complete our portfolio. And we're doing exceptionally well. We're very, very happy with the progress that we're making here in the United States.
And how do the operators promote your game? I know if you're up at the top of the screen, that's a valuable
we're
position.
competing against all the other guys and trying to make sure that people understand our games. We have a different approach, to some of the traditional operators, traditional suppliers in the way that we sell in our games. We're very baked into data and helping the operator know in advance what the performance of our game is going to deliver them, so that they can make a good informed decision. So we're not going to give away too many secrets, but we then support them as many other suppliers do, with marketing dollars, and we try not to compete on price. We don't like competing on price. We think our games are good games. We deserve a good price for them and a good return, but we guarantee our partners that they'll get a good return too.
So how much different are people that play your games online than people who play regular slot machines?
It varies, Roger. It varies by the maturity of the market. So here in the United States, the online gaming market is still relatively immature compared to, say, a UK. And you've been to ICE, and you can see even when you come through a G2E versus an ICE, right? Here it's predominantly a land-based with a touch.
Yeah.
There it's iGaming with a touch of
right,
land-based, and that reflects the customer, the player in the market. In Europe, people are used to be playing on mobile devices that are the size of a phone. And so, you know, I think every market is different in that respect. You know?
I'm always fascinated. They can click on a game and see the information, and you can see the return to player. I mean, imagine if you could see that.
I know. But by the way, it's not every game and not every market. It depends on the regulators, and you know, some mandate it, some don't. Some of the suppliers, which I find very useful, to be honest, when I look at it, they'll tell you the volatility of the game. So as a player, you can actually look at a game, because you know there's so many games on the online world, and they never discard anything. So you could always go and find it. But if you can then say, oh, this one's a high volatility, low volatility, it actually helps segment the customer. You know?
So where do you place your games? Obviously, the legal online gaming.
Yes, we don't play in the black market.
Sweepstakes?
No, we don't do sweepstakes. You know, we took the view that we wanted to play in regulated markets. So we have now, I think, we're operating in 40 jurisdictions around the world. Not all of them are regulated, but like a Canada.com market. Well, our position is, if it's illegal, we don't play. If it's legal, we play, and if it's not deemed illegal, we'll play. But if it's that's our sweet spot. And so there's markets that some of our competitors will go and play in that are borderline, but we'd rather not.
How about the social casinos?
No, we don't do social casino. No, we're very focused just on. And yeah, we started off very focused just on slots. We're now starting to move our way outside of slots. So you know, we're launching this week a number of very innovative table game type products.
Great.
You know, we're looking at some of the categories that we're not in, that we can come into: video poker, instant win games. We're looking at the iLottery space. So we're now at a point in the life of our company where we can start looking at some new products.
That's great.
Live dealer is another one area that we're in.
Great. So obviously you have to have licenses in each jurisdiction. That must have been costly in itself.
Wow. It's the cost of doing business. It's no different for us. In fact, if anything, we promote. Just like when we were at IGT, you know, we believe that the regulators need to be a bit more proactive these days.
So the corporate culture. Obviously, you have all these studios, around the world. It's kind of hard to build a corporate culture, because there's so many different variations.
The biggest beneficiary of us building a common culture are the airline companies, because it means I'm always traveling. The only way to build a common culture in a global company is to be present and visible. So I spend a lot of my time going from location to location, meeting with all of our teams and making sure that they understand what we're trying to achieve. We have a very clearly defined set of values and principles and goals, and we share that to everyone. Every time a new employee starts, once a month, we have a 2-hour session, which is basically a Teams or a Zoom call with all the new employees around the world. And it's 2 hours with me where I talk about the strategic direction of the company, our culture, our values. So we're very much heavily promoting. I've always been a believer in engaging our people and saying that our biggest assets is not our games, or it's not our brands. Our biggest assets are our people, and that's what we invest our time in.
Well, you have a lot of examples to follow at IGT, starting with Chuck Matheson. Some of those leaders were really dynamic.
And and it's so easy to lose your way if you don't keep on that path.
Right. So, any interest from manufacturers to use your games on their slots?
In terms of some of the land-based players, No.
Yeah.
Because we're mostly competing against them on the online space, but there's certainly a lot of interest from casino operators to take our games onto land-based. We're not a land-based driven business, but we're a believer in omni-channel. And as a result, it's obvious that we're going to look at is there a path to working with someone to, certainly in the states where iGaming, for example, is legalized, to bring some of our games into land-based operators. It's an advantage that some of our competitors, like an Aristocrat or a Light & Wonder or an IGT, have. They take their land-based games and they bring them onto line. People know them. They don't know our games. They have to discover our games when they come online. So, it's something that we're looking at.
Okay, great. So, iGaming growth in the U.S. has slowed recently. Are you concerned that it might grind to a halt at some point?
Online gaming is unbelievable, right?
Sure.
Before I answer that question, I'll take a little bit of a step back and go back to COVID days.
Right.
When COVID hit around the world, iGaming shot up like a rocket. Right. And then when things got back to normal, everyone expected, that was people coming back to the venues and it'll drop. What happened is it didn't. Right. People came back, but people stayed on iGaming. It's a really resilient channel for gaming. And so, do I think it will slow down? Of course, you started from zero, you get big numbers. It will continue to outpace the growth of land-based, I think. Then the other big challenge here in the United States is geographically, are we going to add some more states? If I look at the relatively limited market that the United States is today, it's already for us our third biggest market in the world, and we've only live in half a dozen states. So this is a big opportunity and a big market, and I think with time, it's actually good that it's taking its time, and it will go in waves. I expect that we will get some more states over time, but we also understand the pressures that the land-based lobby has. I think it will continue growing.
How about responsible gambling? A lot of people are concerned that online gaming is much more addictive than land-based gaming. We don't see the research on that yet. But do you pay attention to?
Of course we do.
Addictive type of.
Of course we do, and we're very committed to responsible gaming, as I was in the past, and will continue to be. And we're very strong promoters. We work with governments in many of the jurisdictions around Europe, for example, where online gaming is in its 25th year. So the question of is it more addictive or not? I don't think it's the right question to ask. The big difference between online and land-based is it's more available. It's more available at any time. It's not that it's a more addictive form of gambling. But like anything, there are methods of restriction, and in some locations it's the most that they put a limit on how much you can play in a week or in a month. In others, they'll limit the bet size. In others, they limit the speed of a game. So there are different methodologies that are being applied in different jurisdictions to address this, and we work very closely with regulators everywhere to implement what is the best and safest form. And then it's up to the operators to be really managing that with their players.
So I imagine, online gaming is so transparent. You see every bet made, every spin of the reel.
Yeah, so much data.
Exactly. So you deliver that to the operators, and the operators decide what they want to do.
Exactly.
All right, one more question. Where are you going with Games Global?
Well, look, we're on a tremendous growth path. It's been an exciting journey so far. We started when we started the journey, I said to the team, my strategy is very simple here, and it's divided into 3 buckets. We play the game, meaning let's do all the basics right so that we can compete with our others. Then we're going to play the game better, meaning I'd like to start winning.
Yeah.
And then when we start winning and people look at us and say, what are they doing right?
Yeah.
It's time to change the rules.
Right.
So we're now in the phase of let's change the rules of engagement with players, with operators, so that we can maintain this growth. There's so many new geographies that are coming in front. In this last period, apart from the United States, we've only been here for 18 months. There's also Brazil that's opened up, and that's been a tremendous market. Africa is opening up. That's a tremendous market. And so so there's geographic expansion, and then for us it's product expansion. Right. So moving into categories that we haven't been in because we've been so focused on the slot world.
Well, it sounds like an exciting journey, and
it's
you're
a lot
only
of fun.
halfway there. So
there's a few more years left in this old dog.
Great. Well, we're glad to be able to reconnect with you.
Thank you, Roger.
We did that when you were at IGT at the time, so let's do it again next year.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers, my friend. All right. Thanks, Roger.
Very good.
All right.